Right, this is like my fifth take that I'm trying to record this video, but I'll try to be as honest, as natural as possible when recording this video. But the most important question that I have, that you have if you're watching this video, is how do you balance the deen and the dunya? And a question that you guys might have is, where have I been? Because it seems like I've disappeared on YouTube. It's been more than a month, nearly 2 months. Nothing's been posted. The last video that I posted was a Khalid ibn al-Walid video, radiallahu anhum. Was supposed to post a video about Umar ibn al-Khattab, radiallahu anhum as well. But that never happened. And so you guys, if you haven't been following me on Instagram, you guys have just seen a few community posts here and there on my channel explaining, yo, I'm going to be posting it soon, and what do you think I should talk about? But nothing ever happened. And there was more than one thing actually that was happening in my life. And I believe that might be happening to you as well if you're watching this video, which is that you are, and I was, distracted. It's very easy to get distracted. And you might be wondering, what does distraction have to do with balancing the deen and the dunya? Well, first of all, it does. And it does because if you are distracted, you're probably never going to be distracted by things that have to do with the deen. I don't know if it makes sense. You're always going to get distracted from this world, from this dunya. And it is usually a bad thing. First of all, you need to realize that to balance the deen and the dunya, which myself I don't even know if I'm capable of, because it is such a complicated thing, although we should aim obviously to simplify it, is that the things that have to do with the deen are your number one priority. If you're working a job where you're not able to pray your 5 daily salah, maybe because of your job you cannot pray dhuhr on time, or you may skip it completely because of your job. Maybe because of your job you cannot pray maghrib on time, or you may skip it completely because of your job. Then you need to realize that you're not living the way that you're supposed to, because Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran tells us and He suggests us to prioritize that which has to do with the deen, and then leave aside all the things that have to do with the dunya. Kind of like a 75-25% ratio of 75, has to be and should be your deen, and 25% should be the dunya. But nowadays, who's really doing that? Who's really ready to give up their job, which isn't allowing them to pray, to go on and pray? Who is really going to realize that they're hanging out around people they shouldn't be hanging out with, and their speech starts to become an ill speech, which is something that is mentioned a lot in the Quran that we should absolutely avoid? Who is ever going to realize that and tell himself, look, you need to stay away from these people? Who is ever going to nowadays realize that there are more important things that should be done, like respecting your parents? And none of us are really up to do that thing for your mother or father when you don't really feel like it. And if you are somebody who does that, then may Allah Azza wa Jal bless you, because nowadays not a lot of people are capable of doing that. Now, I'm not saying that all these things were the things that were happening basically to me, but I am saying that a lot of you might be going through similar things, which is why on my Instagram I made a story a few weeks back asking people what their problem was when it came to balancing the deen and the dunya. And it just seemed like a lot of you had this problem of salah. The thing is, when you're balancing your deen and your dunya, it shouldn't be 50-50. Because if it is 50-50, that 50% of the dunya will take over your deen. That 50% of energy that you give to this world will end up taking over the other 50% that you utilize for your religion, for Islam, for Allah Azza wa Jal, obviously. And it is a problem, because if your dunya takes over and you just start thinking about the dunya, you just start fearing too much about the consequences and where you're going to go in this dunya, you start to forget your akhirah, you start to forget Allah Azza wa Jal, you start to forget what your ultimate goal should be, which is Jannah. It's Jannah, it's not the riches, it's not the materialistic things, it's not that super attractive spouse that you may see at the gym, for example. It's not all these worldly things. It's a goal that is deeper than just Jannah itself. Because you don't just want Jannah for yourself, you want it for the people you love. You want it for your parents, you want it for your grandparents, your cousins, uncles, aunts. You want it for your friends as well. But who nowadays is really literally writing down on a piece of paper like I have here, Jannah as their number one goal? I'm not doing it. I don't know if you've ever done it, but a lot of us, if you're watching this video, have probably written down goals. But who of us have actually written down as number one goal Jannah? And the reason why you're not, or you haven't written that down, the reason why you're not really putting Jannah and your akhirah as your number one goal is because your dunya has literally taken over your deen. And that is why it is crucial for you and to myself as well. I got distracted for 2 months, a month and a half, whatever the time was, right? I just got distracted doing things that meant nothing, that brought nothing, and that didn't improve me in any way. And it's very important for all of us to realize that in this period, that people like to call the winter arc, right? I may make a video on that as well if you guys want. But in this period where the day is shorter, you don't go out as much because it gets cold, you get sick very often as well. In this period where there isn't much to do, you should 100% focus your time and your energy to do something which is important, which is to achieve Jannah. For me, I'm posting these videos, or on Instagram at least, because as I said, I haven't posted anything in a month and a half. But I'm going to be posting this video not with the intention of it getting me to a point where I can, for example, earn money. And I'll be honest with you, I'd like this video to get a lot of views because it would mean actually that I've done a good job, which is something that is quite important to me. But I wouldn't want those thousands of views so that I know, oh, I can start selling something, right? But it's because I'd like to send this message to every single person who is just completely distracted, completely filled up with things that have nothing to do with you, that aren't productive in any way, shape or form. And those are distractions. And as I said, they're only distractions from your dunya, because your deen is never going to distract you in a negative way, is it? Like, when is it that you're ever going to say, yo, I'm on my deen a bit too much, I need to calm down? And that's never going to happen, right? You're never going to do that. So I really don't know if my message is clear. I really don't know if this video even makes sense to be posted. I'm going to post it regardless. But balancing your deen and your dunya doesn't mean that you do 50-50. It means that you realize what your number one goal and priority is, which is Jannah. And you realize that you're just distracted and that you just care too much about this dunya and that it should be so much less. So do me one favor, grab like a piece of paper or like a notebook, whatever it may be, right? And I'm going to do this exactly after I finish this recording, where you write down your goals. And it's something very important to do. Don't just do it once in your life. Do it many times in your life to remind yourself what your goals are. Write down your goals and put Jannah as your number one priority, your 5 daily prayers as your number one priority, Ramadan to be fasted as your number one priority, zakat to be paid as your number one priority, and then all of the sunnah recommended things as a number 2 priority. And after you've listed, all of the priorities that have to do with your deen, Then you can go to your dunya. Then that's the point where you write down, I need money to survive. I need to study to finish this school year. I need a job to be able to earn. That's all the things that have to do with this dunya. Although they may worry you right now, trust me right now, it's going to mean nothing when you're about to die. And it's very important to always remember that you're not staying in this world forever, thankfully. Thankfully, we're not staying on this earth forever. Because I'd like to be in Jannah, you'd like to be in Jannah, right? So don't stress too much about the job. Don't stress too much about that school year. Allah is the best of planners. Allah has a plan that you cannot even comprehend and that you should fully trust in, although you don't know what Allah's next step is going to be. And always remember this, and I'm going to leave you guys on this note, that when trusting Allah and when putting Jannah as your number one priority, knowing that trying to find the right job, the right car, the clothes, whatever it may be, is just a distraction and it should be your least priority. Remember to always tie your camel first and then trust Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.